Kia ora, I'm Shelby, and this is a story about Minnie Dean. Born as Wilhelmina McCulloch on 2nd of September 1844 in West Greenock, Scotland, Minnie Dean arrived in Invercargill, New Zealand in early 1860s. A widow with two young daughters, on 19th of June 1872, she married innkeeper Charles Dean at his home in Eatle Creek, Southland. Eatle Creek had once been a thriving community, but by the time of the nuptials it was deserted, and Charles Dean turned into framing to earn a living. By 1884 he was bankrupt. 4 years earlier they had adopted 5-year-old Margaret Cameron, and in 1887 the family moved to the Larches, a large house in Winton, about 1.5 kilometres out of town, which is around about 1 mile. The house burnt down, and Mr. Dean built a 2-roomed cottage with a lean-to. He began pig farming, and she began baby farming, taking in unwanted babies for money. She advertised in the local paper, quote, "Respectable married woman, comfortable home in country, wants to adopt an infant. Address childless, Times office," close quote. To adopt a baby, she took anywhere between £10 and £30, while fostering was charged at 5 to 8 shillings a week. Soon babies began to die at the Larches. On 29th of October 1889, May Irene, 6 months old, died of convulsions after a 3-day illness. In March 1891, 6-week-old Bertha Curry died of inflammation of the heart valves and congestion of the lungs. The inquest reported that the house was overcrowded and Dean should take in fewer children, but said that most of the babies were well looked after. 6 weeks later, another baby died, and Dean became concerned that she would be linked publicly with the baby farmers in Britain and Australia who had been convicted of murdering children for money. Another young boy died in her care in 1894 as she buried him in the back garden to avoid yet another inquest. The police put Dean under surveillance and prevented her from taking one baby. A detective writing, quote, "I believe this woman would have killed or abandoned this child," close quote. On 30th of April 1895, Jane Hornsby gave her 1-month-old granddaughter, Ava, to Dean at Clarendon Station. On 2nd of May, Dean boarded the train with the baby in a hat box. When she got off, she only had the hat box with her. After clothing belonging to Ava was found at the Larches, Dean was arrested and charged with infanticide. The police searched the garden at the Larches and found the bodies of 2 babies, Dorothy Edith Carter, who had died of a laudanum overdose, and Eva Hornsby, who died of asphyxiation, and the body of a 4-year-old boy. It was impossible to ascertain how he died. The coroner labelled Minnie Dean a murderer. Bit of the aftermath. The trial for the murder of Dorothy Carter began at Invercargill on 18th of June 1895. Defence lawyer A.C. Hanlon said that the death had been accidental, but the judge summed up saying, quote, "It seems to me the real honest issue is whether the accused is guilty of intentionally killing the child, or is it innocent altogether," close quote. On 21st of June, Dean was found guilty of murder and sentenced to death. She was hanged at Invercargill Jail on 12th of August 1895 by the official executioner Tom Long. Minnie Dean thus became the only woman to be hanged for murder in New Zealand. You should know Charles Dean was also arrested but released without charge. He died in a house fire at Winton in 1908, aged 73. I mean, I'm glad they got her in the end, the piece of shit, but also they only found those few bodies. There's probably more out there. And where did the body of the baby go when she went on the train and then with it, and then it came off and she only had the clothes? So that's one body that's, not been located by the sounds. Evil bitch. Who does that to a kid? Or a newborn? Like, they're innocent. It's like people that hurt animals. Anyway, I'm glad she hung. And I'm glad her husband died in a fire. Sorry to say, but also not sorry. Hope you enjoyed this story. Please stay safe and subscribe.